December 7th, 1941, a day which will live in infamy. You've maybe heard those words before. It's one of the most famous speeches of all time. It's the beginning of the speech given by the United States President Franklin Delano Roosevelt after the events we're going to learn about today, which is the Japanese surprise attack on Pearl Harbor. Infamy is a weird word because it's not used very often, but if you think about the word infamy, it kind of sounds like famous. And famous means that you're well known. Infamy is similar to being well known, except the in at the beginning indicates that it's going to be bad. So infamy means that it's a well-known, very bad or evil or wicked thing. And that's how we describe the attack on Pearl Harbor. So just a quick review. So far, we've learned in World War II who some of the leaders were, and you also learned how in the Battle of Britain, the British Air Force is going to use its radar to detect where the German planes are coming, and Britain's going to win the Battle of Britain against Germany. So Germany's going to make a big mistake, and they're going to invade the Soviet Union, and they're going to lose against the Soviet Union, mostly due to the fact that the Soviet Union is huge and a lot of land, and it gets really cold there, so the Germans are going to run out of supplies. All right, so enough review. I'm really excited to dive into Pearl Harbor today. So here's your ICANN statement. By the end of today's lesson, you should be able to explain the events of the attack on Pearl Harbor. So you could say it out loud. I can explain the events of the attack on Pearl Harbor. All right, so what is this attack on Pearl Harbor? And what in the world is Pearl Harbor? So Japan, who's going to become our enemy in World War II, which is this island or big chain of islands right here, is going to launch an attack on the United States naval base. And navy meaning on the water. And what is Pearl Harbor? Well, Pearl Harbor is a base on this chain of islands right here called Hawaii. You've probably heard of that before. Maybe you've been there, or I bet you want to go there. And this is a surprise attack. Remember, the United States had stayed out of the war. We wanted nothing to do with it. That fancy word isolationism is what we were doing. We were isolating, keeping ourselves out of it by ourselves. So they're going to surprise attack us on our naval base right here. And how in the world are they going to do that? Why are they going to do that? I guess we're going to have to find out. So first off, and by the way, if you didn't know, this is the United States. Here we are, if you're watching this from Sumter, we're about right here. Over here's California, here's Japan, here's China. So Japan is going to attack us right here. Why? Well, Japan wanted to control all of Eastern Asia. Japan, even though they're not super small, they're a chain of islands right here, and they only have so much land. Well, they want more land because they're humans, and humans tend to be kind of greedy. We always want more. We want more and more. And the United States was a major threat to Japan because we have bases on some islands here, and we have big ships, and they're worried that we're going to be a problem for them. And they figure that if they can just knock us out in one big hit, that we're going to kind of become wimpy and just back out. They know we're bigger, and they know we're really overall probably stronger, but they think we're kind of weak or kind of soft. Like if they just hit us really hard, we'll just give up. They're wrong, by the way. So the other big issue is the United States had a lot of oil at the time. We stopped trading oil with Japan. And without oil, remember, oil is used to make a lot of things, but one major thing is oil is used for gasoline. No gasoline, that means your ships can't run, that means your airplanes can't fly, your tanks can't run, your cars, your trucks. It's a big problem. So they're mad at us for stopping trading oil with them. How are they going to do it? Because they got a big issue here. We're really far away from them, and Pearl Harbor is really far away. This is the Pacific Ocean here, the largest ocean. There's thousands of miles here. And nobody had ever done anything like this before. But because of a new technology, which you hopefully read about already yesterday, called the aircraft carrier, it's going to be possible for this attack to be taken out, to be planned out. This had never been done before. Remember, aircraft carrier is a type of ship that carries a bunch of planes on it. An airplane. A fancy way of saying airplane is a aircraft. So the Japanese aircraft carriers are going to go out on the ocean and start sailing toward Pearl Harbor. And the ocean's really big, so we can't see them out there. We don't know they're there. These aircraft carriers are going to have these planes on them. One type's called a dive bomber. Remember we talked about the German ones where they dive in real low, drop their bomb, and then go back up again. And it's very effective for taking out some targets, especially ships. Another new type of invention, technology, was what's called a torpedo bomber. And rather than drop a bomb, they come real low on the water, just above the water, drop that torpedo, and the torpedo goes toward the ship. Let me get you on my camera, and smacks into the ship and blows a hole into it. A hole in a ship is bad because now water is going to get into it and it's going to sink. Wrong slide. So the United States is going to sustain very heavy losses. That's a fancy way of saying we're going to get rocked. We weren't ready for it. And you know, if you're not ready for a surprise attack, things go bad. We were like sitting ducks. If you ever heard that phrase before, our ships are all lined up in pretty rows, which is great for organization, but really bad for an attack. Remember, we aren't expecting to be attacked. We're not at war. We're isolated. We feel like we're safe. So our ships are all lined up. So their dive bombers like this one could come in and just drop their bombs on our ships. They're lined up. The torpedo bombers like these come in, drop their torpedoes in the water right here. If you're looking at my mouse on the screen, and those torpedoes hit our ships and blow them up. We have about 20 ships sunk or damaged. Over 300 of our airplanes are destroyed. About 2,400 or more people are killed, and about 1,000 people are wounded. It's really bad for one day of an attack. The United States ships, for hours, for days actually, all the smoke from these ships as they're burning and all the oil and gasoline's burning from these ships, it's for days there's just all this ash, if you ever watch something burn, flying up into the air. It's really sad because a lot of these ships obviously had sailors and people on them. So what are the effects of this though? And by the way, the United States did get some troops of ours and our airplanes up in the sky to fight back against the Japanese. But again, remember, it was a surprise attack, so we couldn't get the resistance or the fight back like we wanted to. Well, it's going to make us really mad talking about the effects now. So we're going to join World War II. That's where our president, Franklin Roosevelt, is going to make that famous speech where he says, December 7th, 1941, a day which will live in infamy. And he goes on to talk how we were attacked by Japan. Remember, there's no TV, well, there's no internet at the time. So that's how he got the message out to everybody, is through a radio that's going to tell everybody what happened. And people are shocked. So we declare war on Japan, but also Japan has two friends of theirs that form what's called the Axis powers, which we're going to look at, I think, either tomorrow or the next day after that. Germany and Italy. So if we declare war on one, we got to declare war on all, because they're like this little group that's together. You know, like I'm sure you have some friends where if somebody messes with one of your friends, they're messing with you. And that's how they are. And this is a big boost for the Allies, though. The Soviet Union and Britain, who have been fighting against Germany by themselves, well, now we're going to join and help them fight against all these enemies. And that's going to be a big deal. So now that you know what happened at Pearl Harbor, you're going to read a Ducksters article. And I know you may be getting a little sick of Ducksters, but deal with it. It's really good. And good news for you this time is there's a great video on the Ducksters website. It has a lot of pictures from real pictures from the attack on Pearl Harbor. So that's pretty cool. And then I'm switching things up. You're not taking a little quiz today. In the attached Google Doc, you're going to have a little writing assignment. You're going to explain the attack on Pearl Harbor, meaning you're going to answer who, what, when, where, and why. And I'll write that a little bit more in the Google Doc and the directions, but you're basically answering, and this is important, whenever you're explaining something to someone, these are the big things you want to answer. Who, what, when, where, and why. Meaning, who was involved? Who were the two sides during this? What happened? What were the events? When did it happen? What's the date? Where did it happen? What location was it at? And why did it happen? Why did they attack? And I want you to even try, if you can, to take it a step further. After you answer why they attacked, right? Why do we care? That one you've got to think about a little bit. Why do we care about something that happened 75 years ago? Why do we care? Why do we care? So that's your assignment. That should be about a paragraph or so. You should have at least a sentence for each one of those, maybe more. Good luck. Make sure you, again, read the article and watch a video first, then do the assignment.